Hey there, welcome back. You're just in time for another episode of that wacky thing called the Turbo Game of the Week. This week, we're going to take a look at a far more impressive TurboGrafx game. This one's on par with the likes of Sonic the Hedgehog, Bubsy the Bobcat, and possibly even Arrow the Acrobat. That's right, I'm talking about Bonk. We're going to take a look at the very first game in the series, Bonk's Adventure for the TurboGrafx. Now the only version that I own is this one on the Gate of Thunder 3-in-1 disc, but hey, it's a legit copy. We're going to go ahead and play it. We're going to pop it in and play some of that awesome Bonk's Adventure for the TurboGrafx. So, let's go to it.
Bonk's Adventure!
Bonk's Adventure is a true TurboGrafx classic. It is the absolute beginning and end of what the TurboGrafx mascot was in America for the TurboGrafx 16. I mean, this game was the equivalent of the Mario for the Nintendo franchise, the Sonic for the Sega Genesis, and the Sega Master System at the time. The TurboGrafx was really looking for a mascot that it could use in comparison to those guys, and it really found something that had great play mechanics, amazing sound, great graphics. Everything about it was a real charismatic character. Bonk was fantastic for its time, and even now, playing it now, it really shows off some really imaginative ideas that you don't really see all that often now in platformers, and you definitely didn't see back then. I mean, the play mechanics were way different than a Sonic or a Mario game. The idea behind it is you cannot just jump on a bad guy's head. You had to actually bonk them. You could attack them with your head, or you could jump and then bonk down on them. A lot of elements that came into that you'd see in later Mario games even. Different ideas of shrinking and getting bigger in some of the later Bonk games, but Bonk's Adventure really was a game that kind of set the standard for what the series would become in the two sequels for the TurboGrafx, and even more spin-offs and sequels for the Nintendo, the Super Nintendo, and the Game Boy. But you can really tell here that NEC and Hudson had something really special here with the Bonk series. When I came to know the Bonk games for the TurboGrafx, it was actually past when they had initially been released. I played Bonk's Adventure after I played Sonic 1 and Sonic 2, and after I played Super Mario World. So I actually did not experience Bonk before Super Mario World or Sonic 2. I experienced it after playing those games, and I still really liked the Bonk games. I don't know if I would necessarily say they're as good or better than Sonic 2 or Super Mario World, because having grown up with those a year or two before ever trying a Bonk game, I really, really hold those games very, very high on the standard as far as what pack-in games are or what a mascot should be. But with that being said, I think the Bonk's Adventure and Bonk's Revenge, those two together are just as good as those games, and in certain parts of the game are better than those games. It's so well done. Bonk's Adventure is definitely, in my mind, and playability-wise, in the way that I play games, it's got better play mechanics and better colors than Sonic 1 especially, but Sonic 2 even. It's really a really good comparison, those three games, when we had Sonic 1, Bonk's Adventure, and Super Mario World. Like, 3 systems out with 3 amazing mascots and 3 excellent games. You're just completely loaded, and regardless of what path you took in the 16-bit wars, whoever side you took, the Alliance, the FECA, or the TurboGrafx, or whatever, the Alliance and the Horde, or whatever you want to call it, if you're a World of Warcraft guy. You had a winner, regardless of whatever system you picked, and that's what was so special about games like this, like the Bonk games. A really great use of colors here. The Bonk characters have so much charisma. You can just see how there's facial expressions and how the way they attack, and you can just tell the angry ones are the ones that take a lot of damage, and the ones that are really easy, simple to beat bad guys. It's just hilarious how they react like that. You just don't see that, because like Mario Brothers, their characters, some of them hardly even had any kind of facial expressions at all. They wouldn't really do much of anything. You just bump on their heads and kick their turtle shell or whatever. And in Sonic, they're usually some kind of like robot. So you just hit the robot and a little like bunny or something would go hopping away. Whereas in Bonk, they're kind of like, if they see you, they swing at you, they chop you with an axe, or they swing a sword at you, and they're like angry looking. And it's just so much attention to detail in this game that was really sweet. If there's one slight complaint that I would have about Bonk's Adventure, and actually this goes in all the Bonk games, is that the stages really, really seem to be long. And that's maybe just my taste in general. I can blast through a level in Sonic in 45 seconds, or in a Super Mario World it could be like 1 or 2 minutes. Bonk games seem to have like so many sub-levels of each level. Like a stage 1 will go 1, 1, 1, 1, 2, 1, 3, 1, 4, and it keeps going like that, and by the time you hit level 3, it feels like you've already put 45 minutes into the game, and I mean that just adds a lot of longevity to the game for sure. The challenge is definitely there as well, but to me, I always think like I would rather, instead of labeling them 1, 1, 1, 2, and 1, 3, I would just say like level 1, level 2, level 3. And then by the time you get to like level 18, you're like, wow, I made it to level 18. But really, in this game, it's considered like 3-2 or something. But not really a complaint, just, I guess, a way of feeling like you're not really making a whole lot of progress, even though you're putting a lot of time into it. Maybe that's just personal preference, I don't know. But it's a really, really cool game. At times, this game can get pretty frustrating. It's definitely got some replay value, different paths in specific areas where you kind of have multiple ways to go, and the levels at certain points are so open and so huge, you're just kind of like, okay, now I'm going all the way to the right, okay, now I'm going up, now I'm going down, now I'm going to the left. Like, it just opens it up for so much to do, and having seen the way that this plays, and seeing games like Super Mario World or Sonic 2 that kind of took gameplay elements from this game and used it in their own games. Really, when this came out, all it had, as far as what video game mascots to look at and kind of build off of as far as a template and how to make a game mascot, platformer for a system, was the Mario games. This game in Japan came out in '89, and in the US we got it in '90. It really set the standard for a lot of platforming games in general on what other mascot style characters would wind up using. The colors, the characters, the bosses are just huge in this game. It's a really great game, and it really is a shame that more people haven't played this game. I find it so interesting that me having come into the Bonk games later in its existence, like I didn't play Bonk's Adventure until 1994, and that was 3 or 4 years after it had already been out. But I still really enjoyed it and really had a blast playing through it, and I hold it on the same standard as a lot of the Mario games for the NES, Super Mario World, and then of course Sonic. My favorite Sonic game ever is Sonic 2, and I think that's so much fun to play. But I find that I can pick up Bonk's Adventure or Bonk's Revenge in the same way and just pick it up and say, I'm going to have a great time this afternoon. I'm just going to spend 2 hours playing, through Bonk's Adventure or whatever. And it's the same feeling that I get from those games. It's just, you can't go wrong. You can pick either of these games and just have so much fun. And it's a really great game. I'd say my personal favorite in the Bonk series for the TurboGrafx would be Bonk's Revenge. I really, really enjoy it a lot. I also really enjoy Bonk 3, but that's mainly for the two-player co-op mode. I think it's awesome to play with two players. Usually myself and my kids, or else I'll have a friend over and we'll play through it. It's really awesome. Bonk 3, not enough people played it, not enough people own it because it was kind of at the end of the life cycle of the TurboGrafx, and it's kind of a rare game now, so not very many people have it that are in the Turbo scene. But it is a really great game. Two-player simultaneous version of the Bonk games. You can't go wrong there. It's just a blast. And there's also an interesting difference between Bonk's Adventure to Bonk's Revenge, whereas I feel Bonk 3 and Bonk's Revenge are really like mirror images from each other. The gameplay feels the same, the controls the same, most of the same enemies are back. The bosses are a little different, the music's a little different, but really Bonk's Revenge and Bonk 3 are very, very similar. Bonk's Adventure has quite a few different gameplay elements that are different. First, the Bonk sprite in general is just totally different looking. He looks very he just looks different. Bonk does in Bonk's Adventure compared to the other two. And also his spin is totally different. In Bonk's Revenge, you have a much slower spin. You spin slower. I'd say Bonk's Revenge has slightly better control as well. You don't slide as much, and you seem to be able to control your mid-air jump when you're jumping, and you're like, oh, I don't want to go to the right, I want to pull to the left. So then you jump to the right, and you go to the left real quick. I think I'm a little more used to playing Bonk's Revenge and Bonk 3. I think I've played those games more in my life than Bonk's Adventure. But they're still really, really good. I mean, it's comparing like Sonic the Hedgehog 1 to Sonic 2. They perfected a lot of stuff, at least in my opinion, and that's just the way they went after that. But Bonk's Adventure has its definite advantages. The spinning is so much faster, and you can definitely, you know, some might call it be cheap, but you can spin over so much of the levels in this game. just spinning over and landing on bad guys and continuing to stay up in the air. There's a lot of really cool maneuvers that you can do with the spin dash by turning turbo on the controller. You can really just fly through bad guys and bop off of them, and it's really slick. That game mechanic is awesome. You can juggle bad guys up in the air by bonking them up or else spinning them up into the air, and then when you spin into them, you can also elevate yourself up. Also spinning, doing the spin jump onto bosses, if they're big giant bosses, which they all are, you can spin on their heads and then just be bonking off of them over and over repeatedly. Similar to like a Sonic game, I guess, but you actually have to control the bonk. You have to attack while you're in midair. It's a little bit more advanced than, say, a Sonic game, but it's so cool, and it's such a neat element. It's really, really, really cool. And I know I really got nothing negative to say about Bonk, but that's just because it's really fun. And there's so much charm and charisma to this game. And one interesting thing that I noticed about the 3 Bonk games on the Turbo is that Bonk's Adventure is the only one that seems to show any sort of parallax scrolling. And in my opinion, I always think of parallax scrolling as like, oh, that's the signature of a 16-bit game. If 8-bit games, they looked like, one single frame of landscape of like graphics, 16-bit was like, whoa, you could see the parallax scrolling, you could see how 3D everything looked. And that was something that Sonic and Mario did so well. There were so many layers of scrolling. Bonk's Adventure had that in certain parts. It didn't have I wouldn't say the entire game is parallax scrolling, but it definitely has areas where there's like a moon or a cloud in the background, and then there'd be like that tower, like where Princess Za is being held captive. There's that like tower in the background that's also scrolling like in the background, and that I just love. I love parallax scrolling in video games. So when I saw that in a Bonk game, it's like, wow, this really is, it really feels like a 16-bit game. It's like so much more advanced than the weak Nintendo, because Nintendo games rarely ever had any type of scrolling or parallax scrolling of any kind. So it was like, wow, it's so cool to see that in a TurboGrafx game. But it's interesting that they kind of took that out of Bonk's Revenge in Bonk 3. They didn't have, any. I don't remember any, at least. Any parallax scrolling. It was really weird. I mean, at least in Bonk 3, there was such huge sprites and 2-player simultaneous, and there were so many sprites on the screen at once that you could kind of excuse it. I don't even think, like, a Super Nintendo game would have all that much parallax scrolling if there was that many sprites on the screen without slowdown things, but at least there was that. But, Bonk's Adventure, parallax scrolling. Good job, guys. I'm proud of you. But anyway, yeah, I'm getting a little frustrated here. I've lost again. Don't think I'm going to wind up beating the game this time, this sit-through. I apologize for that. I'll try to play some more of it again. But we're going to go ahead and close up shop here. I got work in the morning, so I'm going to stop playing Bonk's Adventure before I stay up until like 3 in the morning, and I realize I'm going to oversleep my alarm clock this morning. But anyway, yeah, great game. I know I'm pretty sure I've only got a little bit left here. I got the boss rush mode in this next stage to go through. So if you want to go ahead and, pop the game in and play it, that's what it's for. We're doing Turbo Game of the Week. You got to pop a game in and just play it. Have fun. Doesn't matter how much you play it, just, get involved in the community. Play some TurboGrafx. It's the best system in the history of all mankind. If you don't obey, you are a sucker, man. You don't know the best games ever. These are the best. They're fun. It's just the best. You gotta play one a week, and if you don't do that, oh man, I don't know what's the matter with you. There's something the matter, though. Or something. I don't know. But, yeah, Turbo Game of the Week, Bonk's Adventure. Can't really go wrong with that. And next time we'll play another Turbo game, and you guys can go ahead and play along with us. Follow along on the PC Engine FX forums. We're all doing a Turbo Game of the Week, and we'll do it again next week. So. All right. Till next time. Take it easy, guys.